Today we're looking at LyndenWoods, one of the more unusual new launches we've seen in years. Why? Because there hasn't been a residential condo launch in the Science Park area for over 40 years. So for decades, right, this entire zone is actually primarily used for office, research facilities and even business parks. So that's why we have never seen a private residential condo here until now. So here's my Telegram channel. You can actually scan to actually get property updates and also any news updates or bounce out units that we have. And there's also my contact number if you'd like to reach me. LyndenWoods is developed by CapitaLand, one of Singapore's most established and trusted developers. This site used to be an old JTC building, but CapitaLand has actually completely transformed it to a full-fledged residential development. They actually acquired the land years ago and then they rezoned it from a commercial to a residential. And also their lease was actually topped up to a fresh 99-year lease starting from April 2025, which means that the buyers here get to enjoy a full lease tenure. So LyndenWoods is actually located in District 5 with a total of 343 units spread across 2 towers of 24 stories. And this site spans over 125,000 square feet and the TOP is expected to be in the middle of 2029. There are 240 car park lots, which gives the car park ratio of roughly around 70%, which is rather decent considering the likely resident profile. This project sits right at the edge of multiple transformation zones. So according to the URA master plan, the entire Science Park area will be rejuvenated with better walkways, cycling routes, transit links, and even lifestyle spaces to create a vibrant live, work, play environment. And also beyond that, the Greater Southern Waterfront is coming, converting the old Pasir Panjang and Keppel Port lands into a massive new residential and commercial hub. Being so close to all this transformation puts LyndenWoods in a very strong position for future capital appreciation and lifestyle uplift. So yes, although it is pretty quiet now, or some say maybe even a ghost town on weekends, but for others that is exactly the appeal, right? It is green, peaceful, right next to work or school. And you've also got Genio Mall right beside. It offers foods, cafe options to add a little bit of convenience and vibrancy. And one more point, while it's not officially confirmed, Fairfield Methodist School is believed to be within 1 kilometre, which may matter to some families. So Kent Ridge MRT is just a short walk away via a sheltered linkway, which gives you direct access to the Circle Line. And Kent Ridge MRT is actually 2 stops away from Buona Vista, around 6 stops to Harbourfront, and if you drive, it takes around 15 minutes to Orchard and the CBD. So these 2 towers are actually quite cleverly positioned to maximize airflow, privacy and views. So if you take a look at this site plan, although each floor there is like 7 to 8 units, right? They have arranged it in a point block configuration where 4 on each corner. So each site only have 4 units and that gives every single home more privacy and better separation. And one more thing to note, if you're on a higher floor and your unit faces this side, which is the Science Park Drive, you may get to enjoy sea views from level 12 onwards. So for this side, which is the AYE facing, they also benefit from a good setback distance. While you may still face the highway, the orientation and the elevation may help reduce the exposure and noise. Okay, so this development includes a 50-meter lap pool. There are some sky terraces, landscape gardens, a gym, clubhouse, and even a pickleball court and a tennis court, which is a rare touch that adds to the lifestyle appeal. So this is the unit distribution. All residential units will begin from level 2 onwards. And the car parks will be fully in the basement. And the level 1 is dedicated to communal facilities like the pool deck, gym, and the clubhouse. So this gives all units a better sense of elevation, light, and also privacy. So when we look at the unit distribution, these are definitely larger than your average sizes. And also this project is not from a government land sale, so this is a non-harmonized project, which means that the aircon latch is included in the total square footage. And while that adds to the livability factor, it will also mean that you are looking at higher overall quantum. So all in all, this project is definitely not for price-sensitive buyers. So take the 2 plus study for example, it ranges from 850 square feet to 883 square feet. This is about the size of a 3-bedroom in Ori, which is a harmonized project, or even at Bloomsbury. And the 3 plus study here, or rather the 3 plus guest, it goes up to 1,200 square feet, and that is typically a 4-bedroom territory for the launches these days. And the 4-bedroom layout is actually 1,647 square feet. That is already overlapping with 5-bedroom dimensions in other projects. So if let's say you are intending to buy into this project, you are not just buying into bigger units, but you're also buying into bigger versions of each room, which is great for own stay. However, for investment, right, you will actually need to make sure that your future buyer also values this space as well. So the guide price has been released at this point of filming, so I'll take these prices as point of references in the review as well. So we can go straight into the 2-bedroom analysis. So for the 2-bedroom, there's B1 and B2. B1 is the typical 2-bed 1-bath layout where you have a dumbbell layout. However, for this type B2, right, you actually have a wide frontage living room of 4.45 meters, and they actually move the balcony into the master. Right, so for this One North area, right, there are very few 2-bed 1-bath units, which makes them a bit of a niche pick. So generally, these layouts of 2-bed 1-bath often appeal to rental-focused investors. So comparing to the surrounding new launches in the area, there are only 38 units at Bloomsbury for 2-bed 1-bath, and they stand at 570 square feet, which all of them have been fully sold out. And in the resale market, of course, there is Normanton Park. So if you're thinking to buy this 2-bed 1-bath for rental, you will likely be comparing to projects like Normanton Park, where the 2-bed 1-bath unit faces the expressway. Because for the 2-bed 1-bath units here at LyndenWoods, they are facing the AYE. So when we use the reference from Normanton Park, we'll be using the ones that are facing the AYE as well. And from my research, I actually found out that the average rental PSF for Normanton Park for the expressway facing units is about $6.50 per square foot monthly. So based on the LyndenWoods guide price that was just released, which starts from $2,188 per square foot, it is estimated to give a rental yield of about 3.55%, which to be honest is a fair rental yield rate. However, the concern here is that if the pricing actually climbs up to 2,600 PSF or more, the yield would then drop to 3% or even lower. And at that point, it may not be the best option anymore, especially when you consider that the other projects in the market offers 2-bed 2-bath layouts at similar or even at a slightly lower price point. However, if let's say today you are somebody who values livability, maybe a young couple or someone who is actually buying your first home, this layout may still make sense, especially if you want to enter into the area at the lowest quantum while still getting MRT access and privacy. So moving on to the 2-bed 2-bath, technically speaking, if you look at all these 3 layouts, right, they are all 721 square feet. There is actually very minimal differences between the B3, B3A and B4. To be honest, the slight differences is actually really in the size of the living, dining and kitchen area, and also the common bathroom, which is very negligible. So moving on to the 2 plus study, LyndenWoods 2 plus study are actually much larger, ranging from 850 square feet to 883 square feet. However, what I feel is that the standout here is the 883 square feet because they are the only ones that comes with an enclosable kitchen. And if I were to use a 2,300 PSF for both 850 square feet and 883 square feet, the top up for the enclosed kitchen layout would be about $75,900, which I feel is a reasonable top up for own stay buyers where the enclosed kitchen is an important factor. So when we compare LyndenWoods to the nearby launches, the price does seem a little bit higher, but it's also important to look beyond the PSF and actually consider the actual unit size and its livability. So in 1 North Eden, a 786 square feet 2-bedder plus study has transacted about 1.84 to 1.85 million. Normanton Park, which is not close to the MRT, has a 2-bed plus study units going for about 1.8 to 1.82 million. And also Bloomsbury, another project that is not near to MRT, has similar 2 plus study units sold at around 1.8 million range. So let's go back to LyndenWoods. The 2 plus study units are much more generous in size, ranging from 850 to 883 square feet. So the 883 square feet, like I mentioned earlier, stands out more because it's also the only one that has an enclosed kitchen as compared to the rest of the layouts, especially in Bloomsbury and also 1 North Eden. So that gives LyndenWoods a very practical edge for families or owner-occupiers who actually cook often. The layout sizes is actually also significantly larger than harmonized units in most new launches, which typically squeezes into the tighter dimensions for efficiency. That also explains the higher quantum for LyndenWoods. So it's not targeted at buyers who are looking at affordability. It's more for people who are prioritizing space and comfort, especially when they do not require a full 3-bedder. So to put things into perspective, some of the 3-bedroom compact units at a nearby resale project have also transacted at a 1.9 million-ish range. So while you're paying close to that for a 2 plus study here, you are also getting a layout flexibility and a true own stay setup. So in my opinion, again, this is really not so much of an investment product. So let's move on to the 3-bedroom. The 3-bedroom here at LyndenWoods comes in 2 main sizes, which is the 1023 square feet and the 1066 square feet. And to me, straight off the bat, 1066 square feet is the one that stands out. Because the 1066 square feet gives you proper space, functional layout, and also a yard NWC, which would be appreciated by 3-bedroom owners, which gives off better livability as compared to the C1 where they do not have the yard NWC. So now let's look where it sits on the market. Our guide price is actually 2.35 million. So over at 1 North Eden, the 3-bedroom premium have transacted about 2.56 million to 2.7 million. Over at Normanton Park, the 3-bedroom premiums have been going for 2.35 million to 2.4 million. And also for Bloomsbury, the same, they are going for around 2.3 million to 2.8 million. So in my opinion, for LyndenWoods, if the pricing holds around 2,003 to 2,500 PSF, this is where I think the value is, because you're not compromising on layout size or even the location. However, if the price starts to push above 2,600 PSF, then I think we need to do a closer comparison again. Overall, for someone who is looking for a proper 3-bedroom to stay in with a decent long-term potential, this layout, especially the 1066 square feet, I think it's worth shortlisting. So moving on to the 3 plus guest layout. So it's 1,292 square feet across both unit types. They are both facing the Science Park Drive. And honestly, this layout is actually closer to what people would think as a compact 4-bedder in other launches in terms of size. So you've got a proper enclosed kitchen and you've got a spacious living and dining area. And this additional guest room, it offers you a lot of flexibility. It can double up as a home office, or if let's say you do want your home shelter to remain as your storage space, or if you don't want your helper to stay in the home shelter, you can actually allow your helper to stay in this guest room as well. At this moment, I do not know what is the exact size of the guest room, so I'm not sure whether it can be converted into a 4th bedroom if needed. I think this layout hits the sweet spot for some families who actually work from home that needed the extra space but don't really want to jump to a full-fledged 4-bedder, which actually comes at a much higher quantum. However, at 1,292 square feet, you are definitely in the premium sizing zone, which would actually mean that pricing would definitely follow suit as well. So at slightly just under 1,300 square feet, if LyndenWoods can stay around the 2.8 million to the 3.1 million range, I think it's a pretty compelling option, especially with the MRT access and the privacy of the point block style layout. And once again, it's also worth noting that both stacks are facing the Science Park Drive, which also means that if you're above level 12, you are potentially having some sea views, and that adds to the long-term resale story as well. So the bottom line, if you want a spacious living without going on to a full 4-bedroom, and you actually value flexibility in terms of layout, this could be one of the best balanced floor plans in the project. And of course, this is not a PPVC project. Definitely you do have the option of expanding bedroom 2 to a larger common bedroom, or you can actually expand it to a larger master as well. So moving on to the largest layout in Lindenwood, which is the 4-bedroom premium, and there is only one layout. So the 4-bedroom premium, which is at 1,647 square feet, that already puts it in a different league compared to most of the new launches today. What you're getting is proper space, a private lift, a generous landscape living and dining area, a full enclosed kitchen, and also 4 full-size bedrooms. You have a junior master over here, and for your master bedroom, you also have a walk-in wardrobe. So in my opinion, right, this layout is really built for families who actually value comfort and space. So for LyndenWoods, right, you're likely looking at above 3.5 million for this stack, which to be fair is not for everyone, but that is exactly the point. For LyndenWoods, is not meant to be for everyone. This layout is for own-stay families with specific needs, privacy, generous internal spacing, and the convenience of living right next to the MRT. And with only one stack of this type and the sea-facing views for higher floors, it is also likely to remain rare in the resale market. We also have to take a look at the bigger picture. Let's look at the resale supply. In District 5, so that is where Lindenwood is, there are actually very few resale options that are under 10 years old and sized above 1,500 square feet. And when I actually did a search through, there are several duplicate listings for this as well. So if you're hunting for a newer, spacious 4-bedroom in this area, your options are actually pretty limited. And that's why Lindenwood's 4-bedroom, 1,647 square feet, I think they will fill in the gap. This is one of the rare few projects that sits in the sweet spot of size, age, and location, and also with MRT at your doorstep. So when we look at resale benchmarks, right, for One North Eden, it is a boutique project with just 165 units. Their 4-bedroom units are sized between 1,259 square feet and 1,410 square feet, and both of which has very fantastic floor plans. They have already recorded ROI of 70% to 88%, and that is really impressive. And to me, it's a good sign of long-term potential in this area, showing that there is still good demand for 4 bedrooms in this area with a good layout. That's the caveat, with a good layout. So when we move on to another project, Blossoms by the Park, I think they're also worth mentioning here because the 4 bedrooms that are 1,302 square feet saw very strong launch day interest because of the very good layout. They have a landscape living dining, they have 4 proper bedrooms, they have also a wet and dry kitchen, yard, and WC. So 16 out of 24 units were taken out on launch day, and at this point it has been fully sold out. They also have another 4-bedroom layout of 1,507 square feet. However, at this point of filming, there are 16 units out of 25 still available. However, if you take a look at these 2 floor plans, this is the less preferred layout because there is a preference for the 1,302 square feet where the layout is actually pretty fantastic. While for this, the living and dining is actually right in the front and the balcony is on the right side. The previous 1,302 square feet has a better thought out layout and less wasted space. And prices for the available 4-bedroom premium unit here at Blossoms by the Park are still ranging in the 3.362 and almost 4.2 million range. And this is where Lindenwood actually stands out, right? So at 1,647 square feet, 4-bedder fills the gap in the market, especially for buyers who want space without jumping into the 5 million range. Because here is the other thing, Terra Hill, they still have large units available. And there are so many different floor plans here, but it's the squarish layouts that are the one that are sold out first, like this 1,302 square feet, and they range at around 3.5 million. All this has been completely sold out. And the next one is 1,894 square feet, ranging from 5 million all the way to 5.35 million, which comes with their own private lift. The rest of the units have not been sold yet because they are mostly penthouses that comes with split levels or 2 levels. And for this pricing for what's available at Terra Hill, it is a huge price jump as compared to LyndenWoods. So while Terra Hill, it is also a freehold, may appeal to a different segment, the pricing gap highlights how competitively LyndenWoods is positioned for its size and also its location. And also not forgetting to compare to Bloomsbury, which is 1,421 square feet and also very squarish in terms of its layout, and the overall quantum is already expecting to be around 3.5 million to 3.8 million. So if I now go back to LyndenWoods, you can get a proper 4-bedroom near to the MRT at 3.58 million. It is a good deal. However, this is of course a level 2 pricing, and we must see the price of the mid floors up to the higher floors. If let's say they reach about 4 million, then we may need to consider how we are going to go about selecting a 4-bedroom in this One North area. So to sum up, right, I actually like 2 things about LyndenWoods, and of course one is its generous sizing because it adds on to the livability. However, due to this generous sizing, the price point can go up by 20 to 30% of what the surrounding projects are asking for. So if you are buying into short-term horizon, which is 3 years, the key thing that you have to take note of is your future buyer. Will they be able to afford the future price that you are going to sell at? And lastly, the premium quality, which in turn costs at a premium price, is it going to help you in terms of your future selling? If your objective is to sell within 3 years, and if your objective is to sell within 10 years, your pricing that you should buy into will be very, very different. So based on the guide price, the early bird pricing may offer the best value, and if you're intending to buy onto the higher floors where the prices might increase quite significantly from 2,500 PSF to 2,700 PSF, it is important to do your homework and be a little bit more careful, because when you're comparing it to surrounding projects and the current launches, there might be some competition where they have more bedrooms than you, but they are also asking for similar pricing, which may in turn affect your future demand. So if you'd like to book a show flat preview of LyndenWoods, you can reach me at my number stated, and you can also join my Telegram channel for more property updates. Until the next one, bye bye.